With this project, I am creating a flashing applique chicken and egg feltie. For this project, we need embroidery thread, cutaway stabilizer, 2 colors of flasher vinyl, the flasher, and a glue gun. And now I'm heading to my machine. I have my hoop on my machine, my design loaded, my thread colors chosen. Stitch step 1 on the stitch map. This will outline the placement of your first applique piece. And take your hoop off your machine. Cut a piece of flasher vinyl big enough to completely cover the outline of the applique you're about to stitch. Turn it over to the back side and use sticky spray and place it over it so it's completely covered with edges hanging over, and press down to adhere it as best you can. And then take it back to the machine. With your hoop back on the machine, the color thread chosen that you'd like to have for the triple stitch around this first applique piece, stitch out step 2 on the stitch map. And then remove your hoop from your machine. With your hoop off the machine, trim only the bottom piece of your applique. You want to keep the top part of the applique still adhered and stuck to the stabilizer, and just cut out this bottom section because we're going to be laying another applique piece over the top of this. Let's go back to the machine. With your hoop back on the machine, the thread color chosen that you want to use for this next applique piece, stitch out step 3 of this stitch map. Then take your hoop off the machine. With your hoop off the machine, cut a piece of flasher vinyl big enough to completely cover the outline stitched area of the next applique, and either tape it or sticky spray it to the stabilizer. And just place it just above the outline stitches over the first piece, and then press down. Once it's adhered to the stabilizer, go back to your machine. That you'd like to use to triple stitch around this applique, stitch out the next step on your stitch map, which is step 4. And then take your hoop off your machine. Your hoop off the machine. Just trim the inside edge at the top of the applique, like this. But just go straight across, don't go down yet. Once you have the edges cut as close as possible, straight across on the sides, take your hoop back to the machine. With your hoop back on the machine, having the applique pieces completed, ready to stitch out the decorative stitching that comes next. Select the thread colors that you'd like for the decorative stitching and begin the next steps. With the decorative stitching now complete, we're at the second to last step of the stitch map. With this second to last step, you will be stitching the first part of the two-part process of making the flasher insertion, opening, and attaching the back. So be sure you have the color of thread in your machine that you would like to use for the final triple stitch. Stitch out the second to last step on the stitch map. This will create the top part of the flasher opening. And then take your hoop off the machine. With your hoop off the machine, turn it over. You can cut away the extra threads you have. If you'd like, place a piece of cutaway stabilizer over the top, give it a little protection between the flasher that will go in here and the vinyl, or your felt, whatever you're going to put on the outside. I'm going to use vinyl. If you do use the stabilizer, it makes it more stiff. If you use felt without anything in here, it will give it more leeway. So with that said, tape it down, securing it as good as possible, and go back to your machine to stitch out the final tack down. With your hoop back on the machine, having the vinyl and stabilizer, if you chose to use it, taped to the back of it, stitch out the last step of the stitch map to triple stitch the front to the back. Using the same thread color as you did in the previous step, and it's also fun to change the bobbin color to match the backing. And then take your hoop off the machine. After you take the hoop off your machine, remove the design from the hoop and cut it out about 1/4 inch from the outside of the triple stitching. Once you have your feltie cut out, oh, she sure is cute. Open it up where the flasher insertion opening is, and if you use the stabilizer on the back side of the hoop before putting on the backing of the vinyl, trim it just a little bit right here. So when you put in, you're going to put in your flasher in between the two pieces of stabilizer, flasher side up. And now that you've trimmed that little piece of stabilizer away, you can apply your glue here. I like to use the stitching as my guide, and now it will glue right to the other side of the vinyl. There. Oh, she is cute. I hope you enjoyed this project as much as I did. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.